I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
There's a conspiracy here, and I will seek it out!
One of the most profound historical theories that gets little discussion in the mainstream media for obvious reasons is that the rulers of the past, the kings, the queens, the emperors, all the way back to the pharaohs of ancient Egypt and even the rulers of ancient Mesopotamia, never fell out of power. They simply decided to go behind the curtain and control things with a hidden hand. And I have the $1 bill here because their symbolism is here. Their origins and their new world order, as they say here. New order of the ages. This is the Great Seal. Of course, Anut Septus, his approval. Whose approval? Something from ancient Egypt, it appears. Anyway, one of the best documentaries that covers this fact, which by no means is a perfect documentary. This documentary has many shortcomings, but it's still a pretty enlightening and illuminating documentary. It's called Ring of Power, Empire of the City. I'm going to read a little summary of it before we get started. Although geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are one interlocking empire called Empire of the City. The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars, one for each city-state in the 3-city empire. This corporate empire of 3 city-states controls the world economically through London's inner city, militarily through the District of Columbia, and spiritually through the Vatican. From the mystery religions of ancient Egypt to the Zionist role in 9/11, Ring of Power unrevises 4,000 years of revisionist human history with never-before-seen revelations. Now, I don't want to get too into this documentary. Like I said, by no means is it a perfect documentary. However, I believe it's the documentary that gets the closest to the truth. In this video, in this documentary of sorts, I will be expanding upon this theory, and not just expanding upon it, but showing concrete evidence proving its validity. And we're going to be doing that with, of course, President Donald J. Trump. Now, it's very interesting. Many people believe that Donald J. Trump is an outsider, that he's not part of the establishment. But in this video, I'm going to be proving that not only is he part of the establishment, but his family, his ancestors, are at the top of that establishment. We're going to start with this fact here. I guess we'll just look directly at this Daily Mail article. Is ruling in the genes. All presidents bar one are directly descended from a medieval English king. 12-year-old girl created family tree linking 42 of 43 U.S. presidents to King John of England, who signed the Magna Carta in 1215. This is, of course, a rather old article. It was published August 4th, 2012. Fast forward 4 years, when Trump became president. Based off of this information, I created a hypothesis that Trump must also be descended from ancient kings or ancient rulers. And then I set forward to prove that hypothesis. And what I found will shock you. We're going to first look at this documentary here, Kings of Calistat. This is a 2014 documentary, 1 year before Trump decided to run for president. And it is subtitled, and the full title of this documentary is Kings of Calistat, My Village, Ketchup, and the King of New York. The ancestral home of Trump and Heinz. And you can see that documentary here. Anyway, let's set out on my journey together. I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process of exactly how I uncovered this very shocking truth that that you will see towards the end of this video. So if you type into a search engine, does Trump have royalty on his German side of his family? You will get the following response. No, Donald Trump does not have royalty in his German ancestry. His grandfather, Frederick Trump, was a German immigrant who left Bavaria to escape military service and was later issued a decree banning him from returning to Germany. Ah, what a snippet. It's almost like search engines believe that ancestry only goes to one's grandfather. So let's set out looking for this. What I did was I looked up Donald Trump in Wikipedia. Then I looked at his parents, focusing on Fred Trump. I already know that Marie Anne Trump has royalty on her side, and we'll be seeing that in the second half of this documentary. So when you go to Fred Trump, you can then go to Fred Trump's parents. Specifically, I wanted to focus on Elizabeth Christ Trump, because the name Christ caught my attention. So when we go to Elizabeth Christ Trump, we can check out her parents, and I focus on Philippe Christ, because to me, Christ just seemed kind of like smoke, and where I see smoke, there must be fire. So let's follow the Christ lineage of Trump. What a fitting name for somebody who today is worshipped like he is the modern day Christ, the modern day savior of humanity. Let's look into Philip Christ's genealogy. When we go to Philip Christ's genealogy, I decided to just very simply trace it back. We followed son of Johann George Christ III. Let's check out Johann George Christ III. Interestingly, at this point, I decided to actually Google Johann George Christ III, and I came across something pretty interesting here. Oh, whoopsies. Sorry. I'm not perfect at this, so bear with me. So Johann George Christ III. Something sparked my attention with this. Maybe it was the 3. I decided to do a quick search of this Johann George Christ III. And when I did that, I came up with these images. And remarkably, this man right here actually looks a lot like Donald Trump. However, this is not Johann George Christ III. Let me walk you through exactly the steps of how I figured that out. I decided to consult ChatGPT. Let's check out ChatGPT right from the top. So here we go. I am looking into Donald Trump's family tree. I came across a Johann George Christ III, who was born in 1831. I was wondering if you could tell me anything else about him, like what his profession was, and if he was at all connected to German royalty. Let's look at ChatGPT's response. Johann George Christ III, born in 1831, is part of Donald Trump's ancestry. He was the son of Johann Christ and Anne Katharina Kingelschmidt. In 1851, he married Sabina Christina Hartung, and they had several children, including Philippe Christ III, born in 1856. Philippe's daughter, Elizabeth Christ, married Frederick Trump, making Johann George Christ III Donald Trump's great-great-grandfather. Regarding his profession, specific records detailing Johann Christ's third occupation are not readily available. However, during the 19th century in Kallstadt, Germany, many residents were involved in agriculture, viticulture, or local trades. It's plausible that he was engaged in similar work, but without concrete evidence, this remains speculative. As for connection to German royalty, there is no documented evidence linking Johann George Christ III or his family to German nobility. The Christ family appears to have been part of the local citizenry in Kallstadt without ties to the aristocracy. So the next thing I did, I believed that, thinking that this was Johann George Christ III, I took a screenshot of this, because I noticed that there was some writing down here. I believe it's Latin. And then I took another screenshot closer of the writing. And then I brought it back over to ChatGPT. And I wrote, "This appears to be a picture of him. Can you translate the writing at the bottom of the picture?" So the OCR extraction process struggled to accurately identify the text. Let me refine the process or attempt manual transcription for the visible Latin text. I'll clean up and translate what can be deciphered. Here is a refined transcription and translation of the Latin text visible in the image. Most Serene Prince and Lord Johann George III, Duke of Saxony, Cleves and Berg, I guess he was Duke of all these places, Archmarshal of the Holy Roman Empire, and Elector, Landgrave of whatever, Margrave of Upper and Lower Meissen. It's a huge title. This guy has this huge fancy title connecting him to royalty. This text refers to a member of German royalty, Johann George III, Elector of Saxony, who held numerous titles within the Holy Roman Empire. This person is unrelated to Johann George Christ III, Donald Trump's ancestor, who came from a non-aristocratic background in Kallstadt, Germany. Now, silly me, when I first read this, I sort of jumped to conclusions, and I was like, so Trump's German side does have connection to royalty. This was my own fub. ChatGPT corrected me. It said, no, Donald Trump's German ancestry does not have documented connection to royalty. The confusion might arise from the similarity in names. Johann George Christ III, an ancestor of Trump, was a common citizen in 19th century Kallstadt, Germany, likely involved in agriculture or local trades. There is no evidence suggesting ties to German nobility or royalty. So then I kind of pushed the question, what year was Johann George III born? They were born in completely different years. Johann George Christ III was born in the 1800s, the 19th century. This fellow here was born in the 1600s or the 17th century. Then I kind of pursued this because I'm an idiot and I couldn't let go even though there's completely different dates. But then I wanted to investigate if this guy, Johann George III, was related to Johann George Christ III. So I asked, where is Saxony? Saxony's over here. Key cities, historical context. And then I asked, is that anywhere near Kallstadt? I don't know the geography of Germany, so I asked this. And it pretty much told me, like, no, they're nowhere near each other. There's a 310-mile gap in between the two places. In summary, Kallstadt, the ancestral home of Donald Trump's family, is far from Saxony, where Johann George III, the royal figure, was from. There's no geographic or historical connection between the two. Then we'll get to this over here in a second. Let's go back to my genealogy search. So I decided to go back here and decide to go back to the genealogy. So we have Johannes Christ. This is the father of Johann Christ III. I believe you can even see immediate family, son of Johann George Christ and Marie, husband, father of Johann George Christ III. So then I went and I said, okay, well, let's keep pursuing this family tree. We got Johannes Christ. Then we have Johann George Christ. Then we go to Johann Caspar Christ. And then we go to, oh no, my tabs are all messed up here. This is going to be very goofy, very quick. Okay, so we have Johann Zacharias Christ. And that leads us to Hans Dietrich Christ, which it's going to be tricky for me to get there. I'll just have to close out that window. And I'll have to close out this window. And now we can pursue. So then we have Hans Dietrich Christ. And he is the son of Hartmann Christ, father of Johann Zacharias Christ, of course. And then we have Hartmann Christ. He is son of Jos Christ and Ursula Christ. I decided to continue to pursue this. I have to close some windows because I have like 50 tabs open. And it's not really letting me click along. So then we have Johann Heinrich Christ the First. Then decide to follow him to Jamie Edward Christ. And if you notice here, we don't have like the mother here, but it's fine because we're still following the Christ tree here. Our next one is Jamie Edward Christ, son of Christian Christ. It's like, can it become more Christ-like? Here it's like the person's first name is Christian and last name is Christ. Then he is the son of Hein Christ. Oh, these tabs are just awful. So we have Hein Christ, then we get Hensi Christ. So anyway, if you follow this all the way back, you go as far as the genealogy can go, you come up to Verona Vincent Keiberg. Now this is very interesting because up until this point in my search, the father or the paternal ancestry was kind of key. Son of Verona Vincent. But here, we don't get a father. For this ancestor, Heinzi Christ, it only gives us the mother, Verona Vincent Keiberg. I thought this was very interesting, so I decided to consult ChatGPT. And I asked ChatGPT, do you know anything about Verona Vincent Keiberg, born circa 1358? And it gave me the following astonishing information. Verona Vincent Keiberg, born around 1337 in Bohemia, present-day Czechia, was married to Frederick von Zollern Shackelsberg, born in 1337. Together they had at least 2 sons and 1 daughter. Here goes the Heinz Christ, born 1390, died 1458. Her husband, Frederick von Zollern Shackelsberg, was a member of the House of Hohenzollern, a prominent German noble family. He held titles such as Graf von Zollern and Herr zu Shackelsberg und Mallerheim. In 1403, he sold Shackelberg to Eberhard Graf von Württemberg. Frederick died on April 1st, 1408, and was buried in Balgen. The House of Hohenzollern played a significant role in German and European history, eventually becoming the ruling dynasty of Prussia and the German Empire. While Verona's direct descendants were part of this noble lineage, specific details about her life beyond her marriage and children are limited. So this is what I decided to respond to ChatGPT with. So, Trump does have connection to royalty on his German side, because that is Trump's ancestor. Yes, if the information about Verona Vincent Keiberg and her connection to the House of Hohenzollern is accurate and her lineage ties directly to Donald Trump's ancestry, then there is a distant connection to German nobility. The House of Hohenzollern was one of the most prominent dynasties in Europe, ruling Prussia, Brandenburg, and later the German Empire. Then ChatGPT tries to cover for this. It's like, does this make Trump royalty? Not exactly. The connection is historical and very distant. It is unlikely that Trump's more recent ancestors, like Johann George Christ III, were aware of or connected to this noble lineage. By the 19th century, Trump's ancestors were ordinary citizens in Kallstadt, Germany. You're going to see why this is total garbage. So conclusion, yes, there's a possible distance, and you see it starts using this language to try to divert from this truth. It even says, it tries to downplay the connection here. Then in its conclusion, it's like, yes, there's a possible distant ancestral connection to German royalty through the Hohenzollern lineage. However, Trump's immediate German ancestors were not part of nobility or royalty in their time. Tries very hard to downplay it. So now you can see I asked it another question here because I kept searching. What I decided to do next, let's close out some of these tabs so that we can freely move between them. Like I said, I got like 50 tabs open here, so let's close some of these tabs out. So check this out. I decided to look into the House of Hohenzollern, and I was surprised, but not too surprised, with what I found. Check out this checkered pattern. This is a well-known pattern connected to Freemasonry to this day. When there is Freemasonry symbolism, or subliminal symbolism in movies, they typically do the checkered pattern. If you don't know this, check it out. So let's look at the House of Zollern. So what I did was, I clicked on the House of Zollern over here. then I basically came across this, my thing's incomplete. So when I clicked on the House of Zolaran, House of Hohenzollern, I did a little reading here. The House of Hohenzollern family split into two branches, the Catholic Swabian branch, rulers, current founder, country. Actually, I think did I not ask ChatGPT? Let's see. Oh no, I'm missing some very important information here. I'm sorry, people, I have failed you. There is a step in my research here. I must have closed it out. I must have clicked on a window or something happened here. Anyway, I decided to... Okay, I apologize. I have erroneously skipped out or removed 2 steps here, and that is entirely my fault. I closed some windows. So essentially what had happened is I did something and I forgot exactly what I did. Correction. In the editing process, I remembered and I figured out, actually, well, I didn't remember because I didn't do that. I figured it out, though. I figured out exactly what I did. What I did then was I looked up this guy, Frederick von Zollern-Shackelsberg, which is the guy who married that female that we were just talking about, whose name I don't remember, but that last female ancestor of Trump that we found in the genealogy. I decided to actually look him up, and then when I looked him up, I came across this German Wikipedia article, and then I translated this German Wikipedia article, and unfortunately when I translated that Wikipedia article, that's the step that I'm actually missing here. I had Google Translate. I took a picture of this I went to this Wikipedia article, I took a picture of it, then I put it into Google Translate, and then that allowed me to get to my next step. But this is an edit that I'm inserting into the final copy of this documentary. So, yeah, there's going to be some kafuckery going on here. So, pardon me for that. And then I got this German Wikipedia article here. And actually, I even got an ancestry, Frederick von... Did I start with this? Frederick... Oh, yes, I did. So, Frederick von Zollern-Shackelsberg, or Shackelsberg. So, I decided to look into this, and I found the site Familypedia, never even heard of it. But it was very instrumental in the rest of my research. So, biography, basically, it doesn't really give much information about this guy. But what I decided to do was do exactly what I did with the genealogy. I decided to look for the parents and go back as far as I could. So he is the son of this person, Frederick von Zollern. I looked at Frederick von Zollern. It gave me this. It did not give me much biographical information about this person here. So I decided to continue my search to Frederick the Fourth von Zollern. We have Frederick the Fourth von Zollern here. And then it doesn't really give me anything here. No biographical information. So I kept going. Frederick the First von Nuremberg. Decided to go with Frederick the First von Nuremberg. Is this the one I decided to ask the question about? No, we're going to get there. So here, it doesn't really give me much information about this person. So I decided to continue. He was born to Frederick the Second von Zollern. I decided to check out this guy, Frederick the First von Zollern, Shackelsberg, or Shackelsberg. I can say a lot about these last names, of course. I hope that you people are piecing that together yourself. Then we can go, at this point, I believe, was it this one that I decided to Google? Oh, actually, yes, this one I decided to Google. I don't know why I decided to Google this one. Is this the one I decided to Google? Yeah. Frederick the First von Nuremberg. Oh, that's right, because he was a first here. And I get some pretty interesting pictures from this guy. He's clearly royalty. Clearly top-level royalty. Dressed up like the King of England over here. Decided to go back and continue my search. We got Frederick V von Zollern. This is his father. Then he goes back to a fourth. I have to close out more tabs. Hopefully I don't end up closing out tabs that I need, like it appears like I did before. Let's see where we're at. Frederick II. The first. Okay, yeah, I think we're... Yeah, this is the fourth again. So we got the first here, then we got the fifth, then it goes back to the fourth. Then another first, Frederick I von Nuremberg. So this is a different ancestor. Really hope you guys are paying attention to these last names, if you know what I mean. This also gives us 0 biographical. Actually, I believe I might have skipped one that gave us biographical information. No. One of these guys will give us, here we go. So Frederick II von Zollern, 1098 to 1143. So this guy was born circa this or whenever. Frederick II supported Lothar of Soplenberg, who was king of Germany, then Holy Roman Empire, from 1125 to Lothar's death in 1137 against the House of Hohenstaufen, then supported that same house and the new German king, Conrad III of Germany, after 1138 against the House of Welf. It was also at this time that the Count of Zollern were able to greatly increase their possessions in terms of both territory and castles in the southwestern parts of today's Germany, expanding to the Rhine and lower Danube, as well as adding territory. So anyway, these are pretty high-ranking individuals. I decided to go to this person's ancestor. I get this guy over here, Udi Hild von Urich. And by the way, I know this is very boring, but wait till we get to the end of this, and not just to the end of this side of Trump's family tree, but his mother's side is equally as interesting because there's some symbolism there that tells us a lot about what Trump is doing today. Now I have to close some tabs. I apologize. Got to close some of these tabs out because I have too many tabs to be able to navigate my tab bar. And I believe we were just dealing with... Okay, yeah, we were just with this guy, Frederick II. So we go to his father, not much biographical information. Then we go to his father, not much biographical information. His father, not much biographical information, but this is all royalty. Okay, so this is Rodolphe II von Urich and whatever, was born to Eugenio I von Urich and Alcom and died. Continued my search. Actually, wait, I think we had some biographical... No, we didn't have biographical information there. Continued my search. I kept tracing it back until I got to the very end. I got to close out more tabs. There has to be a more logical way of navigating these tabs up here, really. I guess I think I can do like hotkeys, right? Or I don't know how to do that yet. Alrighty, we got this guy. Anyway, we go all the way back to Bigon de Paris, and we're going to go further back than this. So this guy was a count, Duke of whatever, Margrave of the Hispanic March, Count of Paris, was born circa 757 in Paris to this person. And then he died. The name Burgon's first wife is not known, is often listed as his second wife, but that would imply that Louis the Pious was a grandfather at the age of 28. It is known, though, that Charlemagne's daughter, Amodori, married a Count of Paris. This cannot have been any of Bigon's sons, while his father, Gerald I de Paris, was probably too old. So we have a connection to Charlemagne, or Charles the Great here. Then we go back to the very last connection here. It does not go any further back than Gerald I de Paris. He's the Count of Paris, like the king of all of Paris. So he was born of an unknown date and died 779 of unspecified causes. At this point, I had to go back and consult ChatGPT. Let me just close out some of these windows so that when we come back here, we can have a slightly smoother transition. We can close out all these windows. They're mostly frivolous. At this point, we're moving in a forward direction, not a backward direction. So we got this guy here. Did I Google him first? No, that's we're almost at the end of Trump's father's family line. So I decided to go back to ChatGPT and consult ChatGPT. So I said, can you tell me anything about Gerald I de Paris, 779? Or that's, I guess, when he died, because his date of birth is not known. Check this out. Gerald I of Paris, died 779, was a notable Frankish nobleman who held the title of Count of Paris. He is recognized as the founder of this house of, this name I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I know I'm just going to butcher it, a significant noble family during the Carolingian era, family and marriage. Jared married a woman named Rotrud, who is possibly identified as the daughter of Carloman, son of Charles Martel. This connection would link Jared to the Carolingian dynasty, though definitive evidence is limited. Children, that's his children, legacy. Gerald's lineage continued to play influential roles in the Frankish nobility. His descendants held various significant titles and contributed to the political landscape of the time. And we sort of saw that. They have a long line of nobility. So I then decided to ask ChatGPT, what is the Carolingian dynasty known for? And can you tell me a little about their origins? And it says the following. The Carolingian dynasty is one of the most significant royal dynasties in European history, primarily known for its role in shaping medieval Europe through political consolidation, cultural revival, and the establishment of the Holy Roman Empire. Here's an overview. Key contributions of the Carolingian dynasty. Founding of the Holy Roman Empire. The Carolingian ruler Charlemagne, Charles the Great, was crowned emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III on Christmas Day in 800 AD. This event is considered a key moment in medieval history, marking the revival of the Western Roman Empire and the fusion of Roman, Christian, and Germanic traditions. Cultural renaissance, political consolidation, military success. Origins of the Carolingian dynasty. The Carolingians emerged as a powerful Frankish family that succeeded the earlier Merovingian dynasty. So then I decided, of course, they say a lot of stuff there, the rise of the mayors of the palace. The Carolingians began as powerful nobles who held the title of mayor of the palace. So see, even before that, they were already nobles. And this ties into this idea that this nobility, we saw how far back. We're now talking, we're back further than 1,500 years. And that line of nobility, not only were they the founders of the Holy Roman Empire, but their descendants end up the rulers of the German Empire. And then their descendants today, via Trump and the rest of these criminals, are in charge of the American Empire. This is no coincidence. The rise, so the family gained power under Pepin of Herstal and his son Charles Martel. Charles Martel, known as the Hammer, he famously defeated the Muslims' forces at the Battle of Tours in 732, halting Islamic expansion into Western Europe. Charles Martel laid the foundation for Carolingian authority. Pepin the Short, Charles Martel's son Pepin, became the first Carolingian king of the Franks in 751 after deposing the last Merovingian ruler. Pepin's alliance with the papacy strengthened the Carolingians' legitimacy, paving the way for Charlemagne. Charlemagne, of course, we all know about him, the decline, the legacy. So then I decided to say, hey, you know what? They came from the Merovingian dynasty. So I said, okay, now can you tell me a little about the Merovingian dynasty? What were they known for, and what were their origins? Check this out. The Merovingian dynasty was the first major ruling dynasty of the Franks, dominating much of Western Europe from the 5th to the 8th century. It's like 300 years there. They played a crucial role in the transition from Roman to medieval Europe, shaping the political, cultural, and religious foundations of the region. These people were hugely influential. What the Merovingians were known for: unification of the Frankish tribes, establishment of Frankish dominance, long-haired kings. Merovingian kings were often called the long-haired kings because their long hair symbolized royal authority and was a distinguishing mark of their dynasty. Now this immediately, when I read this, I immediately thought of depictions of Jesus Christ with his long hair. It's interesting, nobody really asked themselves this. Why did Jesus Christ have long hair? I mean, did he just not want to cut it? Or was he not capable of cutting it? I mean, people obviously have the capacity to cut their hair back in the day. Why is he presented or portrayed with long hair? It's because he's a long-haired king. Spread of Christianity, and boom, right there, it all came together. I had the thought here, then in the very next thing, the Merovingians played a critical role in spreading Christianity throughout their realm. So this is just pretty impressive stuff here. Then we go on the decline into figureheads. So origins of the Merovingian dynasty, legendary beginnings. According to legend, the dynasty's founder was Merovec, a semi-mythical figure from whom the name Merovingian is derived. Merovec was said to be the son of a Frankish warrior and a sea creature, lending the dynasty a mystical and divine origin in their mythology. Now what's interesting is, of course, with this, I think of, I don't believe in aliens or anything like that, but, there is much talk of UFOs and their connection to the ocean. And people have claimed that they've seen these things come out of the water, and there are stories of this that go all the way back to, I believe, Christopher Columbus and his travels to the United States. So notable Merovingian kings, there's a bunch of them: decline of the Merovingians, legacy, etc. Now, this is pretty much the end. This is the farthest back that I can go with Trump's father's royalty. Because, at this point, it just gets into the realm of legend. Now, of course, I know exactly where this actually goes further back to, and I believe at this point it goes back to Rome, it goes back to ancient Rome, it then goes back to ancient Greece, then I believe it would go back to ancient Egypt. But unfortunately, this is where this trail ends, and then the rest we can only really speculate, or maybe we would have to then work in the other direction. We would have to go to the pharaohs, we would have to then look at their descendants, and we would have to show how their descendants go into ancient Egypt. Then we would have to look into those descendants in ancient Egypt, and we would basically have to work from the reverse angle. Here we worked from the present to the past. From there, in order to get to this point, I haven't done it yet. That would require many hours of more work, and I sort of have been doing that with my The Club Uncensored documentary, which you can find in my playlist sections, which is an incomplete documentary for specific reasons. Unfortunately, I cannot complete it for years because I have no support, and I cannot afford to be canceled, because the stuff that I've uncovered there, I believe, will get me canceled. But if you work in that reverse order, you will find that the ancient Egypts then go to ancient Greece, then those ancient Greece rulers then go to Rome, and then eventually lead to this. Anyway, let's now go to Trump's mother's side, which is even more astonishing what I uncovered here. So Trump's mother's name is Mary Ann MacLeod Trump. Now, when I first saw this, I was immediately taken back, because I watched the Highlander movies growing up, and I always thought that the MacLeod clan was a fictional clan. There can be only one, the Highlander. Yeah, that's right. Trump is actually directly connected to this MacLeod clan, and the origins and the ancestry of this MacLeod clan is even more astonishing than the origins of Trump's father's ancestry. So let's check this out. I go into this Wikipedia. What I decided to do here is I read a little bit of this. Donald Trump, of course, born in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. Trump immigrated, yada, yada, yada. I decide to look into the origins of this MacLeod clan. So if you go over here, actually, I'm sorry, this is the Outer Hebrides, before we even go on, because this is a very important flag. The Outer Hebrides. Check this out. Their flag is remarkably similar to the District of Columbia flag. The District of Columbia flag, let me pause and pull it up. So, of course, the District of Columbia flag, as we heard in the beginning of this documentary, and as we even saw, 3 stars, 2 red lines, this white stuff, right? Huh, interesting. The Outer Hebrides also has this 3 symbolism, but here it has 3 ships. And then it has the line. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So we have basically 8 hints here, right? And then I guess the yellow background. But let's focus on the 3 ships. This is going to be very important because we'll see more symbolism with this 3, right? Outer Hebrides. Then I decided to go ahead and look into the clan MacLeod. This is the MacLeod clan, and very interesting symbolism here. I'm just going to focus on the symbolism for a second. We have this symbolism of a bull. And oh, by the way, before I even get into the symbolism, the MacLeod clan has 2 sides to it. There's 2 branches to it. And the symbols for both sides are very revealing. Now, if you go and you watch my The Club Uncensored documentary, I have a video in there where it says how the devil got his horns. And I talk about how this horned symbolism is actually directly tied to an ancient moon cult. And basically, it represents the crescent moon. That's how the devil got his horns. It's actually these horns on the devil, and the horn hand sign, when they do the devil horn hand sign, that's a moon symbol. That's not this whole, people devil. That's very nearsighted when people focus on the devil. They don't realize this stuff goes way back before the devil was even a concept to this ancient moon cult. Now, what's interesting is these ancient moon cults in ancient Egypt, a theory that I have is that there was a sun cult on the surface. If you go back to ancient Egypt, these pharaohs claim to be descendant of these sun gods and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of nuance there I don't have time to get into. So you had a sun cult ruling on the surface, but really underneath that surface, those sun cult people were actually secret moon cultists. And there was an evil moon cult really at play. Now, this is important because this is the symbol of one of the branches of the MacLeod clan. And guess what the other one is? Oh, wait, we have Olaf the Black here. I'm sorry. You got to be kidding me. Did I really lose another tab here? Okay, so we'll just have to read this. Okay, associated. Oh, here it goes. I'm sorry. Known as in Gaelic as Seol Tormod, seed of Tormod, and the clan MacLeod of Lewis. So check this out. One symbol is a moon symbol. The other symbol is a sun symbol. And this actually confirms the fact that this is a moon symbol. Because the reverse one, the other branch, is a sun symbol. What would be the antonym or the reverse side of the sun? What would be the sun's parallel? I guess if these are parallel branches, well, the sun's parallel would, of course, be the moon. Now, we can check, if you check out this MacLeod clan, you go into its histories, you go into its origins. Their surname MacLeod means son of Leod. The name Leod is an Anglicization of the Scottish Gaelic name Leod, which is thought to have been derived from the Old Norse. Clan means children of the family. Basically, if you go back right over here, the clan MacLeod of Lewis claims its descent from Leod, who, according to MacLeod tradition, was a younger son of Olaf the Black, King of Man. Now, we can go over, there's a lot of interesting stuff about Olaf the Black that we're not going to look into, but let's just know that he got this black name for a good reason. They ended up basically invading the natives of Scotland and taking over that area. So let's go over, we got the list of rulers. This is just the list of rulers of the Hebrides. Now, what's more important, though, this is back to the clan MacLeod. This is, there goes the page I knew I had. I was looking for this page. I guess it was just a couple further tabs down. So let's close out some of these tabs behind us so we can move forward smoothly. Get all presidents. Yep, we can close all this stuff out. And we're actually almost at the end here. So now we got the list of rulers, we got the Clan MacLeod, MacLeod of Lewis, list of rulers, and now we have the Isle of Man. So then I decided to look into the Isle of Man. Now the Isle of Man has so many cult symbolisms there. If you go to the Isle of Man, they're very... If you look into the Isle of Man, you will find that these people are very superstitious, and you will find that there is a lot of cult worship there and a lot of cult symbolisms there. However, what we're going to be focusing on, what really caught my attention in all of this here, was the flag. Check out this flag. So, flag of the Isle of Man, I decided to look into this, and of course, this page is closed out. Flag of the Isle of Man, this is from the Britannica Encyclopedia. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Flag of the Isle of Man. And yes, this symbol should look very reminiscent to another symbol. So the Manx tricycline is one of the oldest continually used government symbols. It is a version of the sun symbol, or swastika, used by many ancient civilizations. Common in Scandinavian lands, it may well have been introduced to the Isle of Man when the Norse ruled the area prior to 1266. Its use is confirmed from the late 13th century by a medieval document and by the sword of state carried in ceremonies of the Tinwald Court, the Manx Parliament. So, really, Olaf the Black actually brought this to the Isle of Man, and basically there were invaders. There were Norse invaders who went there and conquered the natives. They convinced the natives that they were descendants from gods, and they did this in a very stereotypical manner. It's a repeating thing of these invaders, this club, going into native lands and convincing the natives that they're descendant from gods. So anyway, what's interesting, though, is if you look at this, and here's the Crovan dynasty. Godred the Black, by the way, his actual name is Godred Crovan. So this is all tied to the Crovan dynasty until 1265. The Isle of Man formed part of the Kingdom of the Isles, ruled by the Crovan dynasty. Okay, Godred Crovan, or Godred the Black. It's all tied together. What's interesting, though, and this is where we get a little insight into what Trump is actually doing. So the three legs of man. How did the three legs symbol become so associated with the Isle of Man? What are its origins? What does it mean? Of course, there's a lot of stuff here that we basically already covered. 13th century. The history of the three leg of man goes as far back as pagan times and was originally a symbol of the sun and of power and life. And of course, the sun symbol, the swastika symbol. It has also been suggested that the Manx three-leg symbol may have been an adaptation of the triskeli, which appears on coins of the 10th century Norse king Anilaf Curan, whose dominion included Dublin and the Isles of Man. So this just goes to show, we're going back now to the 10th century, and it shows that, yes, look, these royal people here, they continue to rule, they continue to spread their influence. So both sides of Trump's family tree are royalty spreading their influence for very long times in different kind of parts of the world. And actually, it's not even that different, because the Isle of Man, it's not even that far off from where the Holy Roman Empire was. So anyway, folktale suggests a link with Manannan, the Celtic sea god, but there is no early evidence of this. Now, this is important, because remember, the farthest back that we could go with Trump's father's origins claims that he is a mythical figure whose mother is a sea creature. So check this out, on both sides, there is connection to a sea god or some sort of sea creature. What are the chances of that? What it is, it's the same story. This is just a story that they use. The sea was like kind of a realm of mystery, so they can make stuff up. Oh yeah, the mother's a sea god. People don't know. They can't actually dive deep down in the sea. So that's why they use this story on the natives, to get them to be worshipped. And actually, I realized a couple of things while I was editing. I was editing it, and I had some more time to meditate on this. And I realized this sea god creature that they're talking about is this Starbucks logo. That's why it even has a crown, showing its connection to royalty. This is this sea god creature that they're talking about, at least a symbol of it. And it's very likely that they used this, oh, we're descendant from sea gods, because they were seafaring people. So the natives probably saw them and was like, oh man, look at these people. They can like sail on the sea, and they seem to have power and control over the sea. So then they're able to tell the natives, like, yeah, that's because we're descendant from sea gods. And a very similar thing played out in ancient Egypt. So what happened in ancient Egypt, you had a group of wandering shepherds, a group of nomadic shepherds. They were the inventors of a technique called nomadic pastoralism. And what happened was they would come from like the German region, from like the Caucasus Mountains, kind of around Turkey area, and they would go into the Nile Valley during the flood season with their flocks, and the native people began to think that they were actually connected with the flooding of the Nile. So these people, they went along with it, and they're like, yeah, we're the ones who control the flooding of the Nile. And you can prove this by very easily looking into why the pharaohs were worshipped, because the natives believed that they were actually responsible for all that flooding and stuff. These people are con artists. These people are charlatans. These people are professional liars. And they've been doing it literally for thousands of years. It's complete madness. All the early examples of the Manx legs show them running clockwise towards the sun. The 3 legs of man's motto has been associated with the symbol since about 1300 AD. Then it has this basically some foreign language I don't even know. I think it's like some Scottish native language. Literally translates to, "Whithersoever you throw it, it will stand." Now, to me, when I read this, I immediately thought of Trump as the 3rd leg, and how he's able to implement policies. He can take a policy and he can get it to land or to stand. So Trump is that 3rd leg, and they use him to do things that the other 2 legs would not be able to stand on. Either one of the other established parties tried to lock us down and do this warp speed vaccine, it would not have stood. But because the 3rd leg did it, it was able to stand. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this video, this documentary. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm sorry if there were some pitfalls in it. It was a little clunky in some spaces, I know. But now I'm going to finish off with a quote. And this quote, I believe, is perfect for this video. And it comes from the book Man and People by Jose Ortega y Gasset. Out of the immense jungle of themes that will need to be elucidated if we are to aspire to a new dawn, I have chosen one that seems to me greatly urgent. What is the social? What is society? A theme, if you like, that is comparatively humble, and so, of course, scarcely brilliant, but above all of the utmost difficulty. But it is of the utmost urgency. It is the root of those concepts, state, nation, law, freedom, authority, collectivity, justice, and the rest, that today put mortals into frenzy. Without light on this theme, all these words represent nothing but myths. We are going to look for a little of that light. You must expect nothing more, of course. I can only give what I have. Let others who can do more do their more, as I do my little. So in this video, I hope I shed a little light on the origins of our social, of our societies, to show that they were established, created, directed, influenced by an evil empire that has ruled since ancient times and continues to rule in the shadows today. And society, our struggles, our difficulties, our frenzy will not cease until this is addressed, until these serpents are removed. I don't think that we need to use violence. I think that we need to use knowledge, information, and we ourselves need to get organized. We must choose a champion, as they have chosen a champion. With that said, you all stay happy, stay healthy, and stay sharp.
You can't stop me no matter who you are. Yes! Give me 10, Norton! Everyone can eat shit! A big bag of shit! I'm the greatest man in the world!